So recently, I absolutely waxed this guy that played the English against me. And typically, with the English recently, I've been playing D5. And I'm kind of going for a more reverse. I think the accurate name is the Anglo-Scandinavian defense. But I kind of was watching Marc Esserman play it instead of when obviously you can't play the Smith Morra in this situation, but you can get a similar position after C6 and then pawn takes and then knight C6. It's been a fun inputting. I'm about 50-50 with it. I think I'm still learning it a little bit, but you get the nice sharp lines, lots of tactics, getting your pieces out quickly. It's been pretty fun to play, and it has a lot of parallels to the Mora. Like if I was to fast forward a few moves in this game, nothing really interesting happens yet. We're both just kind of jockeying for position. But after a few moves into this game, you can see it quickly resembles something that you might find in the Mora, right? With my queen coming to E7, possibly getting castled, and then placing my rook on the half open file, looking for knight jumps, possibly activating my light squared bishop so I can bring my other rook into the game. These are all things that I'm looking to do similarly in the Mora. The one difference is you're as black as you're kind of playing a tempo behind. So you can't be necessarily as aggressive. And there's also some lines with Queen B6, trying to stack up against F2. But a lot of the times white is going to get to castle. And you can see if we look at this position in itself right now, I don't have enough time. I can't put enough pressure on black quickly enough, or excuse me, on white quickly enough to prevent them from castling. So white's going to get castled in this position, and that's one of the fun things in the Mora is that typically black may not be able to castle. And yeah, so I mean, if I just flip the board and I go reverse this almost into an E4 situation, where after black plays the Sicilian here, C3 takes, we're gonna get it feels like a very similar game. I guess you could play bishop first. It's kind of whatever. But basically we're gonna get a similar position that you would get in the Moor. And the Moor is all about open lines, tactics, getting your pieces involved as quickly as possible, and that's what you're sacking the pawn for. You're sacking it for activity, and even at higher levels, it's really difficult to defend against. So you could get a bunch of interesting positions here, possibly after A3, castles. You could play knight here. We could bring our queen out. He might go for B5, bishop back. If he goes for B4 in this position, we get the beautiful knight to D5, which is it's always a really fun move to play. And I think this might be what attracted me to the Mora to begin with, because this move is just like so abrasive. It's so interesting, and it's one thing that I don't know. You don't really see this in a lot of different positions. I mean, being completely winning here is pretty cool. I mean, yeah, you're plus 2 in this position after black takes. So yeah, those are two things that I think are really cool in this position. And you get the similar thing as the black pieces. So if you want to play a game like this against the English, you can get a similar opening after C4. So you've got D5 takes. And in this game, I just castled, and we both castled. As you can see, white has this opportunity to castle because I don't have enough, can't gather enough pressure quick enough. After this, I go for the simple Queen E7, Rook to D8 situation, which is pretty common. Obviously, just in reverse with white. And we kind of reach this position. Now, he decides to bring the knight back here. And I think his idea is knight here to knight here, possibly like tickling this bishop, but it's too slow, and I end up just getting a really dominant position with my pieces, and I just pin them up. I get these pins all over the place. It's king's in the crosshairs, and it's kind of just over after that, to be honest. So after he plays his knight back, I play this nice move, bishop G4, with the idea of putting a lot of pressure on D3. There's a lot of pressure on D3. But I also have other ideas on the king side. I have a lot of my pieces trained on this king side. After he's moved this king side knight away, my pieces are kind of ready to hop in and go after things. So we're gonna get active with it. I throw down here. He goes A3, which is a bit of I don't know what's going on with A3. It looks like he's trying to play B4 in this situation, but I thought that's why the knight was coming over to begin with. Maybe I'm misreading things, but it also just hangs a pawn. So he just misses rook takes d3, which I think is a really sweet move. And it's something that when I initially saw the pin 2 moves ago, I was thinking, oh, this actually doesn't work because he just has h3 in this position. But if you can visualize after h3, you have to realize that something else has become undefended. It looks defended, but it's not. But because of all the pins, g3 becomes undefended. It has 2 defenders currently, but it actually only has 1 defender currently because h3 is the only thing defending g3. So after he plays h3, I can simply take. And it removes this idea of, oh, I'm forced to play bishop back, and then now I have 2 pieces under attack, and I'm gonna drop something. I'm obviously losing here. Not even totally losing here. I probably still have some kingside attack after rook takes, and then I think he has to be pretty accurate because after takes, we're actually even. So even after I've sacked the exchange here. I think is what it works out to. It actually turns out pretty well for me. I may have sacked more than the exchange. It actually is fine. And I have this massive attack because his king is just wide open, and he's moved his knight away from defending it. He's going to waste a tempo bringing his knight back over. So back to the game. I take on d3. He plays h3. Rook takes because of this nice pin. Again, everything's pinned up here. And you can take my bishop here, but I'm just going to replace it with another attacker, right? Pawn takes, knight takes. We're off to an amazing start. My queen wants to come to h5 immediately. Excuse me, h4. That's not h5. Wants to come to h4 immediately and just mate on h2. His only move here to stay alive, and this is the beautiful thing about the Morra, is you end up in these positions where white has 1 move. And if they don't find that 1 move, it's over. And that can be a thing for 5, 6 moves in a row when these lines get really sharp. If you don't find the best move, you can be under a lot of pressure. And black's not the one under pressure here, right? My rook's coming out. My rook's coming to d8. I'm going to put more pressure on the queen. My knight's jumping in. You have one main defender of your king, and my queen wants to come to h4. I'm not under pressure right now. I'm the one attacking. So after he plays this blunder, you can see there's just so much pressure in the position. There's nothing he can do. So I simply play queen h5 and it's over. There's there's nothing here. Take. Everything's pinned up. This was pinned. This piece is now pinned. This is pinned, and he's struggling to even get anything out. This bishop is completely dead. This piece is not playing. Look at his dark square bishop in compared to my dark square bishop eyeing his king, and that's the difference here. And it's way more fun to play as black. Now I don't have the. I'm still working on this opening and trying to get a higher win rate with it, but ultimately it's a lot of fun. And this game was a really nice showcase of that. Just opening up the pieces, opening up the lines, getting the pieces out, and then winning very simply and effectively. So I hope that was interesting. Went over a few of the lines there, and I've been actually enjoying this against the English. So stay hard.